Oliver Dowden does not say in this resignation letter that he's encouraging others or mounting a coup against the Prime Minister or anything like that, but there are some pointed remarks in there.
Let me interrupt you very briefly. Boris Johnson just being quoted as say he's in Rwanda, as we know. We'll be hearing from Beth Rigby, our political editor, in the next hour. He says he will listen to voters but will keep going after the Tories suffered that double by-election defeat, and his chairman also deciding that it's just too much for him. Sorry, go on.
Yes, Boris Johnson saying he's going to listen to voters. What I was being told by Downing Street sources this morning is that there is no question of him flying back to the UK. He's doing important work at the Commonwealth Heads of Government Summit in Kigali, and he's due to be away for quite a few days afterwards as well.
Let's bring in Rob and John, should we? They've been covering these by-elections for us overnight. John, to you, first of all, you've covered so many of these stories in the past. What's your mood?
Well, that letter is explosive for a number of reasons. There's that line where it says we can't carry on as business as usual. He talks about recent events. Well, presumably he's talking about the disastrous losses of councils like Westminster and Wandsworth, jewels in the Tories' local government crown, Partygate, all the other potential scandals there. He talks about the activists in the party being the backbone of the party. Now, as Conservative Party chairman, obviously, Oliver Dowden has presumably had an avalanche of either emails or letters from the local chairman and activists around the country saying, look, you've cost us the losses of good councillors. It's a disaster. We're heading for defeat at the election. He's probably reflecting what the party activists are telling him. And just bear in mind also Oliver Dowden's background. You mentioned, Kay and Tamara, the fact that he was one of the first group of Tories to get behind Boris Johnson with Robert Jenrick and Rishi Sunak. Before then, he was a senior staffer at Tory HQ under David Cameron and other leaders. He knows the party machine inside out. And one of his friends has said to me today, he confirms that in the last sentence of that letter, he talks about his loyalty to the party, not to the Prime Minister. Kay, you and I can remember cabinet ministers resigning and they say, you will continue to have my support and loyalty from the backbenches, Prime Minister. Well, there's none of that. Loyalty to the party, not to the Prime Minister. It sounds like a call to other ministers to have the bottle, or another word beginning with B, to rise up and to also challenge Mr. Johnson. As for the results here, well, I kind of agree with Lord Barwell that, yes, this was a seat the Tories only had a majority of less than 3,500, a marginal seat, a red wall seat. It's the result in Tiverton which is more catastrophic. It was always predicted that the Labour Party would win this seat back. Relief for Sir Keir Starmer after recent criticism. Sir Keir, we are expecting, as party leaders do, to come and visit today.
Okay, lovely, thanks. Rob, stand by for just a second, if you would, please, because tomorrow we're hearing more from the Prime Minister in Rwanda.
The Prime Minister is in Rwanda, yes, in Kigali. He's spoken to reporters there and he has said, I've got to listen to what people are saying, in particular to the difficulties people are facing over the cost of living. And he says that there is more, we've got to recognise there is more we can do, and we certainly will. So the Prime Minister blaming these defeats on the cost of living. It's absolutely true. We've had some tough by-election results. This is the Prime Minister who said just this week that he didn't think people of Wakefield and Tiverton would vote against the Conservatives, but he will keep going. He's not going anywhere, is the message.
OK, and also as part of the statement, he goes on to thank his former chair of the party, Oliver Dowden. He says it's absolutely true. We've had some tough by-elections. They've been, I think, a reflection of a lot of things, but we've got to recognise voters are going through a tough time. He thanked Oliver Dowden after he resigned as Tory party co-chair. Rob, the Liberal Democrats pretty pleased with themselves this morning?
Yeah, this is a huge result for them. I think they were kind of quietly confident yesterday, but to take a seat like this that's been really as Tory as long as anyone can remember. In 2019, Neil Parish, the MP that resigned round here, held this seat. He won 25,000 more votes than the second-place candidate, and that second-place candidate was Labour. Lib Dems have come from third into first with a massive swing to take this. It's not quite as big a swing as we saw in North Shropshire, and I think some of the factors are probably the same as North Shropshire. There's an awful lot of tactical voting that's gone on, a lot of Labour voters that have lent their votes to the Lib Dems in a sort of anti-Prime Minister, anti-Boris Johnson vote. I think there's a sense as well of exasperation a little bit. I think people think, why not try something new at this by-election? So a sort of rebellious protest vote spirit. And then I think there is the issues that Boris Johnson has been going through connected to Partygate as well. We've seen the local Tory candidate that stood here having a bit of a tough time on the campaign trail, getting booed at hustings at the count earlier. She was locked away in a room, not facing any of the cameras, and then quickly spirited away after the result was announced. But I think it is this result that has really brought about Oliver Dowden's resignation. I think if we were in a position where they had hung on here, the Tories, but lost Wakefield, as was expected, you may not have seen that letter get posted to the Prime Minister. But because you are in safe, true blue territory around here, and whilst to a large extent it's sort of meaningless to try and transplant this into a general election because so many factors are different, the fact that a safe seat like this can fall will have many Conservative MPs looking over their back.